All right, it's the third one in the series, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about what we got here. We got the dry brushing and using the complementary colors. We did that on both. Um, so we have the green underneath. We did the dry brushing. We did the mixing on the palette. And the next step that I want to show you the practice using whatever you're using. And you can, using flush tones and whatnot, is mixing and going on top while it's still wet. Now you'll notice that my paint is very liquidy. Okay, and another reason why it's liquidy, because it's been a while, is because I added water to it for one, and then I covered it. Let's make sure that we're covering our paint so we have our paint survive. Paint is not cheap, okay? So we don't want to have an expensive problem. Now you can still use the palette board if you can do that. I'm probably going to mix off the side over here and use the rest of this. There's wax palettes that you use a plate. You can use anything, or magazine, for the most part, as a palette. Those are the three best choices. So I'm going to go with a different color today. Of course, I got water if I need to. And I'm just going to go with a different thing. Notice I'm using a big brush, and I'm using the tip of the bristles to paint. And I got some canvas showing through. So I'm going to go back over it until I get that canvas covered. The most important thing is getting the canvas covered. All my strokes are going the same way. Alright. If I need more paint, I can get the paint from the reservoir from the top. The paint should not go all the way up here. That just ruins the brush. And that makes it also harder to clean. When you got paint all the way up there, that means you got to get it out. And it takes you longer to clean. Now you can kind of see that I got a pyramid going here. We got square, we got so forth, and then we got a pyramid. I'm going to put this brush down. These brushes are good for coloring large areas at a time. You don't want these for fine detail. These are real for ultra fine detail. You're only supposed to use the top. A lot of you see you use the whole thing and then you're trying to paint, and it's torturous to me watching you paint that way. So I know that you can get more successful with other brushes instead of using the whole brush and then trying to scrub it in. And notice this guy's, he's been a little tortured too because he's got some hairs flowing around. Alright, this is, I like little side brushes like this, is what I recommend. So I'm going to mix, I forgot my palette knife. So I'm going to get some reservoir red up here, okay, and then this would be like where my palette would be. And I'm going to get a reservoir blue. And then I'm going to start mixing while this is still wet. So I'm going to go off the shadow part. And I'm just going to start mixing the color on the canvas. This might seem easier to you, but to get a value is actually a little bit more difficult. Alright. Start putting a shadow in. Nothing is completely defined right yet. So I'll make it darker and blend it in. So then I'm going to grab a little bit of blue, purple that up. Notice that all my strokes are going one way so I can get it nice and uniformed, so I don't have a whole lot of brush strokes. And what often happens is that you get working on one side so much you neglect the other side. And then it dries, and then you gotta basically coat it again and get it going. You see that when I grab the blue, I work it where I want it the darkest. Go over to get that purple coloring. It is really easy to overwork it. So you want to be careful, because then you just got one flat color. You want a value of color. I'm using the bristles to kind of get a straight edge here. So I kind of got a value. I clean out my brush a little bit, and then get back with the red. Now that's a little dry. That side's dried out. So I'm going to go back, add some moisture to it. Start flattening out the color a little bit and building my hues. This also doesn't take one application. You can come back and when it's dry and apply more to get more intense color, more vivid coloring by layering your paint. You should be layering your colors over top of each other. That's the most muy important thing. Now I'm just starting to get one tone. So now that I'm just kind of getting one tone, I'm going to decide to get it out later. This is how to blend your colors and so forth. One way, another way, you can do a two-color stroke by getting some blue, getting a wide brush, and then getting some red, put it right next to it, and then working the colors. So you have blue on one side, red on the other, and then if you have enough, you can see you can get a two-color spectrum that's already blended. This is blending on the canvas. We're also going to do a flat painting as well, where you break up the space, shadows, midtones, and just paint flat. So you'll paint a flat color as well. You just have a shape, and then you're going to mix the color to get 3 different variations, but you're just going to color in that shape a flat color. No value in the shape. The value will come from the contrast of the shadow, the midtone, and the highlight. And you'll use pencil to outline that line. I'll probably do another video on that as well. And this is getting your basics for painting. Once we get our knowledge for painting and how to paint, then you can start deciding which style you want to go with and work on it from there. So, enjoy.